There are some old sayings politically. One of them I don't appreciate too much, but it's probably true that we get the politicians we deserve. And
Ugh.
so when I look at Biden and other presidents that were like him, especially now in our modern times, I see the illustration of just how gigantic the portion of this country is to celebrate resistance to going for it, to celebrate the resistance against crossing over fears and living in any glory whatsoever, to literally build a system that makes it okay to not really try for anything. Life throws curveballs at all of us. We all are born with some fears that we got from our childhoods and later on, and things that didn't go very well that might make us skittish about things. But to me, the greatest thing about a human being is recognizing that overcoming fear is our mission. It is what bonds us. It's why this country came into existence in the first place. And this is really sad that here, after 250 some odd years, I'm losing count, or it's 300 years of our country being here, we are at this point where it looks like it's at the end. Because if half the country is willing to accept the plausibility that life is better when we don't have to fight and go for it on our own and own our own, responsible for our mistakes, and it's better to scapegoat, blame, and tear statues down and just destroy the other person that still represents high energy and dedication and commitment to hard work, when that president isn't voted in unanimously, it's just a sign. Joe Biden is a sign, and whatever this candidate will be when the election comes up in November is just going to be another sign of the horrific state of a great portion of this country's mindset and what it is sunk to.
It's a sad thing to think about, really. And furthermore, this country was built on the backs of the greatest generation, in my opinion. Everything about current American policy goes back to the Great Depression, World War II, and I believe that was the origin of Uncle Sam. So it's an ironic tie-in here that you have one side that is so patriotic. I'll give you a personal example. Right before I graduated from school, I went to just out of morbid curiosity, a Bernie Sanders rally. There was not an American flag in sight. No one was being patriotic. It was all about Bernie Sanders.
Right.
It was just shocking to me. So I don't understand why one side has just completely abandoned their patriotic ideals. And furthermore, we have an even bigger problem. It's the classic hard times create strong men create good times create soft men create hard times. We are at the soft man stage, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's a sad state of affairs because I constantly go back to the way this country has just been brought into existence, brought kicking and screaming away from the British Empire in the late 1700s. Then about 80, 90 years later, and technically the founding of our country, I believe, technically is 1787 with the new Constitution. And about 80 years later, you get, I don't like calling it the Civil War because it doesn't meet the requirements. Plus, I'm from the South. I won't call it the War of Northern Aggression, like some of my neighbors. But the Civil War was about 80 years later. And then what happens 80 years after that? World War II. World War II was 80 years ago. We are in smack dab in the middle of a new cycle, and it terrifies me. However, I do believe in the ability of actually a lot of young Americans. We have just seen all these ridiculous protests, and the only people that seem like they are preserving American ideals are young Gen Z men. And it's just wonderful to see.
That's great. I pray to God that there is a crop of folks that are coming onto the scene that will remember what made this country great, how it started, and that greatness needs to be maintained. And it's not something to gloat about, and it's not something to necessarily envy. It's something to support, and it's something to pursue.
I completely agree.